Hey, I'm Jessie. Thanks for tuning in for the second day of the Wolfram Tech Conference 2017. For those that are just kind of tuning in, I'm just here with developers and other interesting people using our technology in cool, fun ways. I'm here with Eila, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does here at the company and what she's doing here at the Wolfram Tech Conference in particular. So,
hello. Yes, so my name is Eila. I'm actually a manager at Wolfram Research. The department is called Quality Analysis, and we handle all sorts of feedback about Wolfram Alpha. That is not what I'm actually at the conference for. So my conference participation is a talk that I'm giving tomorrow with another developer. We worked together on a project it's a sponsorship project for the local marathon here, because I love to run. A lot of people at the company really love to run all the time.
not me.
So I've started doing longer distances in 2014. And one of the marathons I've run since then was in Chicago in 2015. And, I come back after the race, go back to work, and we start talking about the race, and my manager was like, so how many people participate? I'm like, close to 40,000, and I'm like, it's a great data set. We love data, So we got all the data for Chicago. We turned it into a data set for us, readable, an entity store. And then in 2016, I wrote a blog post all about that race, and we looked at, not just the individual runners, but the field of runners. Where does everyone come from, and how did the race progress for all of them? For example, we had all the data in there, the location and pace at which people were going. So drilling down, we could even identify, these two people were running together. They're probably related, or, there are groups where you have a disabled runner who has to run with someone else to guide them. And so those were really, it was a giant fun project. And for this blog post, we also built an animation that sort of shows the field of runners. So it at a given point in time, we show how many runners are at a certain location along the race course.
So this data set's huge. So how exactly did you get this data set in and cleaned it up, and how did you get it?
It's all available online. So if you participate in a race, after the race, you can typically go to the race's homepage, and they will guide you to a result page. And based on, a lot of them is just your first and last name or your bib number. You can then look up all your starting time, so when did you cross the starting line, and you get all the little data points in between. Chicago is nice. They give your time every 5 kilometers, so there is a lot of data points per person.
So you said it came in raw, in a spreadsheet.
Yes.
So how did that get turned into what it is now with these entity stores and whatnot?
Yes, so as you mentioned, it's just a spreadsheet, so it's just a bunch of strings, and we had to make them readable for us. So we would take locations, for example. So if someone specified that they flew in from Boston, we would just take Boston and align it with a city data entity that is then for us computable. So, and we did this with all the city, states, countries, with ages, genders, things like that.
And so when they're in the entity store, there's other pieces of information attached to an entity value. Is that why these are useful?
That's correct. So we fast forward a year, and let's go to Champaign. After we've done this for Chicago, we took up a conversation with the local race administration then, and they really liked the idea that we're doing something for them. It's sort of, they're not the big name, they're not New York, they're not Boston, but we can provide them with a little something that sets them apart from other big races. And for Champaign, we're building the same animation, but a lot of graphical output. And one piece, for example, is whether or not a person qualified for Boston, if they got a Boston qualifier in. And so this information, for example, we did sort of bake into the entity store. So I have a data set, and I can say, this person, age 52, male gender, I can now look up his division. I can look up, this was the requirement for him to qualify for Boston. So yes, there's a lot of stuff that we were able to throw in that, makes for easy computation.
Cool. So you mentioned that there was a visualization associated with the Chicago run.
Yes.
What was in it? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, and happen to have it out here.
Wow, what a coincidence.
So on marathonviewer.com, it still redirects to the 2016 animation for Champaign. And so what you can see here is what I was trying to describe. The purple wave, the height of the purple wave indicates a certain number of runners per, I think it's a half a kilometer, that are, in that area. We also pre-generated the position dots for the male and female winners, green and yellow. We also added the median of all runners and the center of gravity, just for the heck of it, just because we can and we like it. And so for this animation, it's now, of course, interesting to find out how you yourself did. And let's
So I'm not a runner, and for other non-runners out there, what's a bib number?
So the bib number is a unique number assigned to you. So my bib number in 2016, because I've done it so often, was 736. So add the number, and we will start the animation again, and it'll tell you. Down here in the legend, you can see I'm the light blue one, so I'm at least keeping up with the median. I am, of course, nowhere near the winners. I did not start to win any money. That was not the plan. But yeah, so we can show you. It's actually, I always told people, this is a great way for people who watch the marathon to check out when they should be where. Because it tells you when the masses are coming by your neighborhood, basically, So if you're traveling spectator, it'd be an optimized way to, be like, okay.
This reminds me of football play-by-plays, in between. They have the people, the players, and they're all on the field, but they're X's and their arrows.
Yes.
This reminds me exactly of that. That's so cool.
Yes.
And can you put in more than one runner at a time?
Yes, I believe we cut it off at 5. It's at that point. If you want to see how you compare it to other people, or maybe people you ran with, it's fairly difficult to stay with a person. So we thought you're not going to compare yourself to more than 5, but let's assume my running partner, he ran his 13th marathon with the 666 as his bib number, so he was a little concerned.
He didn't get injured, did he?
No, he did not. He did not. But so there are, there's the two of us. I have to scroll down. And so then he has another light dot there. Mm-hmm. So.
What did you say again the purple waves were? The
purple waves always shows the height of the purple wave shows the number of runners at this location. So you can see at the very end, we start together. I mean, there's a wave start, but it's fairly concentrated, and then as the race progresses, of course, the faster ones, they're off the course much quicker, whereas the slow ones, they take a much longer time along the race course. So that's why the wave flattens out.
Right, okay.
So, and then, at some point everyone makes it into the finish.
So, were you able to figure out or ask any interesting questions about these kind of weird concentrations of runners in certain areas?
Yes, so not necessarily based on this animation, but based on the entity store that we generated. So we, for example, as I said, in Chicago has a lot of split information. So every 5 kilometers, that's really nice. And so we were looking at, how much time does it take a person to get to a certain split? And you have your histogram with certain, you always see when the mass of people comes through, at 5 kilometers, and when the mass of people is at 10 kilometers. And we saw, for example, in those graphs, before before the big spike. There was always a tiny spike, always just before the big wave. And we looked into it, and those were always the runners that tried to beat the 4 hours, which is, it's like this, you have your elite runners, they start to make money. They start to win money. I am not one of those. For a lot of people, just pure survival is at the top of the list, right? Just making it through, maybe get your Boston qualifier, get a PR. But a lot of people just try to get below the 4 hours. And that's one for me always. My fastest was like just below the 4, and it was the first marathon I've ever run, and I've never been able to beat it again. It's like I had, a 3:59, a 4:02, a 4:06, things like this. So it's like 2 minutes over 26 miles is so minor, and you think you can do it again, but it's actually it can be quite difficult. But these are things where, we visualize the field of runners, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yes, these are all the 4-hour runners. Like, I am not the only one desperate to attempt this, so yeah.
That's so cool. So what else? I know you're giving a talk later today. What else are y'all going over in your talk, you and Jeff?
So I will, again, I'm not a developer. I just happen to be lucky enough that I can combine my personal with my professional life, because they let me, play around with this. So Jeff is really going to dive into the coding that was done to make this work. I will give a, background information on the Illinois Marathon, how it has evolved as a, because it's a big community event that brings in a lot of people, a lot of money. It's a really nice event to be involved with. In Champaign, you have to mention the weather. I will talk a little bit about the weather. It's just...
Is it that crucial? Like, I don't...
It's
I haven't lived here very
weather.
long.
Weather makes a huge difference, but especially in Champaign, and I'm going to mention this tomorrow as well, whatever the weather, it's never good. You have too much of whatever it is. It's too much sun or too much rain. You have too much snow, too much humidity. It's it's never it's not a very forgiving place. And in terms of the marathon, this marathon happens to be one of the few that had to be canceled mid-race. And so this is, yes, 2015.
In case the frame was on Eila, I made a face. I was so confused. I'd never heard of a race getting canceled.
Yes, so
during
marathons do get canceled for various reasons, but a lot of times, or most of the time, it happens before the event, not while you have thousands of runners on the course. And 2015, it's just thunderstorm decided to stop by, stick around. We had a lot of lightning strikes hit the ground, and at some point they just had to cancel it, which I was thankful for because I had a horrible run, and I made it to, I think I was at mile 18, and then the cop cars came around and were like, you guys are done. I'm like, thank God.
Well, cool. Thanks again for stopping by to talk with me, Eila.
Of course.
And good luck with your talk later this
Thank
afternoon,
you.
or is it tomorrow?
It's tomorrow morning.
Okay, tomorrow morning. Well,
Yes.
good luck. And
Thank you.
like always, if y'all have questions, leave them in the comments below. We can't get to it during these live sessions, but someone would be able to get back to you later. And check out community.wolfram.com, because someone may have already had your question, and you can get your question answered there for sure. So, thanks.